Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 9, Chapter 6, Text 1. Sri Sukha Uvacha Verupa Ketuman Chambur Ambarisha Sutas Praya Verupat Parshadasvo Bhut Tat Putrastu Ratitara. The noble Sukha said, Ambarisha had 3 sons, Virupa, Kedaman, Sambhu. Virupa had a son, Parshadasva. From Parshadasva came Ratitara. Text 2. Ratitarasya prajasya bharyayam tantaverteta angera janayam masa brahma varchasvinna sutan. Ratitara had no sons, and unto his wife, for increasing offspring, he requested Angera, who caused to take birth those sons who had Brahminical qualities. And of course, because he wasn't the father. Now, it's an odd custom, right? Kind of reminds you of that thing in the Bible, where, you know, I'm not saying forced marriage is right, but that's what seems to be the case, is that the widow has to marry the brother of her deceased husband, and he's required to give her kids, but they count for his brother's offspring. Text 3. Atek Shatra Prasuta Vae Punastav Angerasah Smarta Ratitaranam Pravara Kashatropata Devejataya. The sons became the children of Ratitara and belonged to his family. Indeed, again, but the Angera dynasty, they were called all the sons of Ratitara, the chief, because being born of a field called, and it's a mixture of Brahmana and Kshatriya. Well, the wife that took part in this custom was Kshatriya, so yeah. Text 4. Kshuvatas tu manor jajne ekshvakur granata suta tasya putra sata jeshta vekukshe neme dandaka. While sneezing, Manu was born. Ikshvaku, from the nostrils of the son of him, were 100 sons, prominent in the name of Vekuksha, Nime, and Dandaka. Okay, so those were the 3 most known ones of them. And if we go back to chapter 1, verse 11 and 12 of this 9th canto, we see that there's a previous inclusion of Ikshvaku among 10 sons begotten by Manu in Sraddha. Text 5. Tashampurastad abhavan aryavarte nurpa panchavim sateh paschach cha trayumadya parenyata. Among all these, on the eastern side, they became in the place of the Aryavarta, in the Hindu Kush Himalayan kings, a ruler. There were 25 on the western side, and also 3 of them in the middle, and others in other places. Text 6. Saekadashtaka Shrade Ikshvaku Sutam Adesat Mansam Anyatam Madhyam Vekuksha Gachamachiram. That once upon a time, during January, February, and March, or maybe it was November, December, January, or something. But anyways, during the time of offerings to the forefathers, Ikshvaku ordered his son to bring flesh, here being pure, by hunting, and the Kuksha immediately went without delay. Text 7. Tathate savanam gatva Mergan hatva kriyarhanan sranto bukshetu vira sasamcharan apasmerte. According to that direction that went in the forest with the animals and killing, making suitable for offering. When he's fatigued and hungry, the hero also ate a rabbit, forgetting that he still needed good meat for an offering. Text 8. Before we get into that, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Asvamedam gavalambam sanyasam palapaetarkam devarana sutodpatim kalau panja vivarjayat. In this age, there's the forbidding of the sacrifice where you have sex with the horse first, the one where you do that with the cow, the acceptance of the renunciate, the offering of meat to the forefathers, and having children in a brother's wife. And, part of this is when the Muslims came through, they said, no having sex with the animals before you sacrifice them. We're going to put a stop to that. You can keep your religion otherwise, but you need to stop with that. You need to stop with this polyandry stuff. And, ancestor worship, per se, became less popular, and to straight up offer animals Well, that's what they do to the voodoo, but it's not really their ancestors that are being worshipped, it's other entities. But most people never figure that part out. Text 8. Sasham nivedayam masa petretana chatad guru chodita prokshanaya dushtam etad akarmakam. The remnants were offered to his father by him, and also the priest or spiritual master, being requested for purifying, said that all the flesh had been polluted and it wasn't fit to be used for offering. Okay, because he ate from some of it rather than waiting for it to be dedicated. There was no chance. Text 9. Jnatva putrasya tat karma guna behetam nirpa dasan nihsarayam masa sutam tyakta vidim rusha. Knowing of his son that the action of a spiritual master informed the king from the country and drove away his son because he violated the principles, and this was done out of anger. Well, driving away was. Text 10. Satu viprana sambadam jnapakana samacharan tyaktava kalevaram yogi satana vapayat param. He indeed, with the priestly discussion, with the former doing accordingly, giving up this body, being somebody who's connected, and that by instruction achieved the position which transcended. Well, that one chant that I say in so many videos, Zipti, that's what we're doing here. And Zipti is similar to Param. Text 11. Petare uparate vyatya vekukshe parthivim imam sasad ije harim yajnaya sasada ete visruta. When his father, being relieved, came back, the son was ruling the planet Earth, and he worshipped the potency by performing sacrifices. The eater of the rabbit was thus celebrated. Text 12. Puranjayastasya suta indravaha itivrita kakutsata ete chape ukta sarnu namane karmabe. The one who goes beyond the residence, his son, whose carrier is the senses, and thus it's known as such, is situated on the hump of a bull, thus indeed known as such. Just here, all the names according to one's work. Text 13. Kirtanta asit samarvo devanam sahadanavaya parshnengrahu berto viro devairda itya parajitaya. A devastating war. There was a fight of the lightnings with the Danavas, the demons. And there was a very good assistant that accepted a hero by the lightnings. The demons had been conquered. Well, demon isn't quite a translation, but obviously they were the demon side that chose to be demons. Text 14. Vachanad Deva Devasya Vishnor Visvatmana Prambho Vahanatve Vertastasya Babuvendro Mahavrsha. By the order or words of the Supreme over the lightnings, the all-maintaining, the super soul over creation, the controller, because of being the carrier, because God's beyond space, so therefore things are within, engaged in the service. He became the king of heaven as a great bull. Well, he's the great bull carrier, but text 15 and 16. Sanado Danur Devyam Adaya Vesekan Chetan Stuyamanas Tam Aruhya Yuyutsu Kakude Seteta Tejasa Pyayeto Vishno Purushasya Mahatmana Praticham Dese Daityanam Nayarunat Tredasae Puram. He, being well equipped as a first class, with a first class bow, he took arrows that were very sharp, being praised very much. He, getting on, prepared to fight, so he got on the bull. But the bull being situated by the power, he was favored by the all-pervading, the Supreme One, the great field of consciousness on the western direction of the demons. He captured and was surrounded by the demagogues, the residents. Oh, he surrounded the residents, okay. And that was in the west. Kind of reminds you all that stuff in ancient Egypt where where the west was like the land of the dead, so you wanted to bury on the west side and all that. Text 17. Taestasya chabut pradhanam tumulam lumaharshanam yamaya balair anayad ta ityam abeyayur murde. With them of him also there was a fight very fierce, so he fought the demons. And hearing about it makes one's hair stand on end. The equivalent in Ekankar was there was supposed to be this time when Harold Klemp was having a eyes gouged out sort of level of fight with astral entities in the mental hospital. But the place of death by arrows he sent the demons who came towards him in that fight. So obviously sometimes you can't wait for you see your target. You need to strike where it's presumed they are. Text 18. Tasya shupata bembukam yugantagnim evolbanam visarjya dudruver daitya hanyamanah svam alayam. His throwing of the arrows in front was at the end of the age. The flames were just like the fierce, giving up the attack. Oh, it was flame-like because of its ferocity. They gave up and ran away. All these demons that were being killed of their own in the residency. Okay, so their army fled to their homes. Because typically, well, not typically, but in some systems, those who stay at home are considered as safe. That's not how Israel fights, but, Text 19. Jedva param danam sarvam sastrikam vajrapannaya pratyayachat sarajarshir itinamabir ahrta. Conquering the enemies, their wealth, everything with their wives, under who carries the thunderbolt, was returned and delivered, and that saintly king was thus called by names. Text 20. Puranjayasya putro bud ananastat suta parthu visvagandis tatas chandro yuvanasvas tutat suta. Of Puranjaya, the sons that were born were Anana and his son Prathu, of the name Visvaganda, his son Chandra, of the name Ivanasva, indeed was his son. So good 4 generations in that verse. Text 21. Sravastas tat suto yenna sravasti nirmame puri barharasvas tu sravastis tata kuvalayasvakah. Sravasta, his son by whom was the name Sravasti, and was constructed the great township Brihadasva, and were begotten by Sravasta. From him was Kuvalayasvaka. So another few generations and places. Text 22. Yah priyartam utankasya dundu namasuram bali sutanam mekka them satya sahasrair ahanad varta. He who for satisfaction of Utanka, of the name Dundu, was a demon that was very powerful, and his sons, he had 21,000, and these were killed, being surrounded. Well, there's, the way some of these languages speak, you actually end up talking about this nation descended from these individuals, and it could be thousands of years. Sometimes it doesn't literally say that, but remember, these are geographical and origin myths. Text 23 and 24. Dundumara ete kyatas tat sutascha jajvalu dundor mukagnena sarvetraya evavasesh etah durdasvah kapilasvascha barasva ete barata dardasva putro haryasvu nikumbas tat suta smarta. The killer of Dundu thus celebrated his sons, all of them, were also burned of Dundu by the fire emanating from his mouth. All of them, 3 only, remained alive. Durdasva, Kapilasva, and Vadrasva. Thus, O India, the son of Durdasva, named Haryasva, Nikumba, was his well-known son. O Kuvalayasva is celebrated as the killer of Dundu. But, there's that price to pay because all but 3 of his kids were killed. Text 25. Bahulasvo nekumbasya karsasvo thasya sanajit yuvanasvo bhavat tasya sunapatyo vanam gata. Bahulasva of Nikumba, Karsasva thereafter of Senajit, Ivanasva was born of him. He, without any sons, retired to a forest. Okay, so Ivanasva probably made it a couple decades without kids and went off to the forest, giving up on it. Or maybe he waited till his wife was menopausal and then it's like, okay, it's obvious I'm not going to have kids. So he went off. So you got 4 generations. At the fourth generation, it was cut off. Text 26. Varya satana nirvana urshayosya kripalavah ishtem samavartayam chakur indrim tasu samahita. With 100 wives, being very remorse. He was very upset. The sages were merciful upon him and had a ritualistic ceremony in the past that was being carried out, known as the God of Heaven sacrifice. All of them were careful and attentive. So is this one of those ones with the opium, ephedra, and marijuana? Perhaps hallucinogenic mushrooms? Text 27. Raja tadyajna sadanam pravishto nesetar shetah Irštvasayanan vipramstan papahu mantra jalam svayam. The king entered the sacrificial arena at night, being thirsty. He saw and laid down with the priestly. All of them drank the sanctified water. There was chanting over the water. They personally drank. Text 28. Uddetastene samyata vyudakam kalasam prabhu paprachuh Kasya karmadam pitam pumsavanam jalam. After awaking, they all saw thereafter that there was the emptiness of the water pot. The ruler asked whose act this was to drink it, which was to cause the birth of a child by the water. Okay, so he had seen water among the assembly, and he didn't ask if this water was okay to drink, and they already performed spells over it. Text 29. Rajna pitam viditva vae isvara prahitenate isvaraya namaschakur ahudaiva balam. By the king's drinking, understanding this, certainly inspired by the control of providence, all of them, out of the supreme controller, offered respectful obeisances, and providential power is actual power, is what they said. Text 30. Tata kala upavrate kupshim nirbidya dakshinam yuvanasvasya tanayas chakravarti jajanaha. Thereafter was a time for maturity of the lower part of the abdomen, pierced from the right side. Yuvanasva had a son with all the qualities of a king, because it was generated in the past. Text 31. Kamdasyate kumaroyam stanye roruyate varsam mamdata vatsamarudir etindro dasanim adat. By whom have we cared for? By being nursed with, with breast milk. And this child of his, who would drink breast milk, is crying so much. Just drink me, my dear child. Don't cry. And thus, the God of heaven allowed him to drink from the index finger. Okay. Text 32. Namamara peta tasya vipradeva prasadata yuvanasrotha tatra iva tapasa siddhim anvagat. Not having died, the father of the baby, because of the mercy and blessings of the priestly, Yuvanasva, thereafter, in that place, carried out austerities and achieved perfection. Text 33 and 34. Trasandasyuretindro naga vidadenamayasya vaeyasmat trasantehe udvigna dasyabo ravanadaya Yauvanastotha mandata chakravarte avanim prabhu sapta dvipavatim eka sasas at in trouble speak sasachyuta tajasa, the one who threatens thieves and rogues. Thus was the King of Heaven. My dear King gave me the name, and of whom you're afraid. Okay, so his name was from the King of Heaven. So he's called the one who threatens the thieves and rogues. And indeed from whom they're afraid, and indeed the cause of anxiety for the thieves and the rogues are headed by the roarer and other such entities. The son of Yuvanasva, thus Mandata, the emperor of the world, the surface of the earth, mastered, consisting of 7 parts. One alone he ruled, being powerful by the favor of the Supreme Personality of God. Okay, so there wasn't any other ruler of the 7 continents. Text 34 and that was text 33 and 34. 35 and 36. Ijacha yajnam kratubir atmavid bure dakshinae sarvadevamayam devam sarvatmakam atindreyam dravyam mandro vidir Yajno Yajamaнаstathartavidya Dharmo Dasas Chakalascha Sarvam Metadyad Atmakam. He worshipped also with the sacrifices and great ritualistic performances, fully conscious by the self-realization, by giving large contributions, consisting of all the light beings, the Lord, the super soul to everyone, situated in the senses, the ingredients of the chants, with the regulations, worshipped, and the performer with the priest had the religious principles of the country and the time and also everything and all these, which is favorable for self-realization. Well, people say you need to get with the times or be like, how things are in a particular area, but that's not willy-nilly or just because it's the custom of the place. It has to actually be the law of the time. Of course, we're in an international age where the spiritual law is everywhere. There are places of pilgrimage, so those are specifically visited, but the spiritual laws are for everywhere now and for the rest of time. Text 37. Yavat surya udatisma yavat cha pratit ishtate tat sarvam Yahuvanasvasya mandatu kshatram uchyate. As long as the sun rises on the horizon in the past, as long as it also continues to stay, all those things and everything of the son of Ivanasva, called Mandata, his location is said to be. Text 38. Sasa bendur duhetare bendu matyam adandarpah purukutsam ambarisham buchukundam cha yoginam tasham savasara panchasat saubarim vavrevre patim. Sasabindu, and the daughter Bindamati begot a ruler under the Purukutsa, Ambarisha, Muchukundam, and a highly elevated mystic. Of them, the sisters were 50, under the great sage Saumbare, accepted as a husband. So Mandata had 3 sons by Bindamati, who was the daughter of Sasabindu. Prokutsha, Ambarisha, Mujakunda. Okay, so the last one was a mystic. Yeah, some of these kings back in the day had a lot of wives. Text 39 and 40. Yamunantar jalem magnas tapyamana param tapa nirvritim bina rajasya darštva ma intuna dharmana jata sparho murpam vipra kanyamekam ayachata sope aha gryatam brahman kamanam kanya svayamvare. In the Yamuna water, emerged completely, carrying out transcending austerities for pleasure, some big fish, he saw them engaging in sexual okay, well, so he saw the fishes having their fun, and he became sexually inclined, and went to the ruler, wanting from the priests one daughter, and he begged for it, and that said, you can take, O priest, as she desires, which, at least they're getting her consent, a daughter personally selected. Text 41-42. Savechintya prayam strenam charato ham asammatah vali palita enjatka ite aham pratyudaharta sadayishya tathatmanam surastrinam abhipasitam kim punar manujendranam ite vyavasita prabhu. He thought to himself, that he wasn't liked by women because of being infirmed, and I not desired by them because of my wrinkles and gray hair, and my head always trembles in this way. I'm rejected by them. I shall act in such a way as that that which my field of consciousness is in is for the celestial women desirable. What to speak of that of the daughters of worldly kings? In this way, he was determined as a greatly powerful mystic. Text 43. Muneh pravaseta kshatra kanyantah puram Vridimat Vrta Saraja Kanyabir Ekam Panchasata Vara. Mune admitted by the palace into the residential quarters that are very opulent. He was accepted by all the princesses, and he alone, by the 50, was the husband. Okay, well, yeah, by any means, that's just too much. It's not as fair on the women. Now they say, okay, well, he's powerful and all that other stuff. It's like, yeah, but dude's not going to be able to spend time with you. Maybe he says hi every day, or talks to you for a minute, and then moves on. Oh, maybe you can average out to 2 or 3 minutes, or if you have tax in life. Text 44. Ta sam kalera bud Buyams tadarthe pohya sauherdam mamandurupo nayam vaete tad gata chetasam. Of the princes there was disagreement and quarrel, and there was very much for the sake of him who gave up a good relationship of mine, a fit person. He was not this, and yours in this way, being attracted by him. Okay. Each one said, yeah, because if you have several hours, if you can only, at most, average several minutes apiece a day, that's you need more time than that, don't you? So obviously when it comes to that many, 1, 2, 3, 4, there doesn't have to be quarrels. Things can be divided up evenly and not be rushed about talking and everything else. Text 45 and 46. Sabavrachas tabira paraniya tapa sreyanargya parichadashu grhashu nanopavanamalambah sarahsu saugandeka kananashu maharha sayasana vastra bhushana snananure pabyavahara malyakaya svalankarta stri purushasho nityada fremme dugayad dvijabharnaga vandeshu. He was quite expert in scriptural ways with his wives. He was unlimited because of the results of austerity, the opulence, and the tools of enjoyment. He was equipped with different garments in the house and the rooms, with the varieties of the parks, with clean water. It's important to clean up between wives. And before the first one on the list too, right? In lakes that were fragrant, in gardens that were costly, with bedding, sitting places, and clothing, ornaments and bathing places, and sandalwood, and palatable dishes, and with garlands, was properly dressed and decorated. The women, with the men also, constantly enjoyed and followed up with the singing of birds and bumblebees and professional singers. Well, just like we buy media nowadays, it might be best, of course, to have, if we go back to that age, maybe have a place where people can actually, certainly the places of worship, things should be gone over for free, but if people want to go teach them elsewhere, or, this person knows, let's hire him so we can listen to him say it, that should be permissible, right? Although the higher reward is to say it without the pay, but, text 47. Yangarhastyam tu samvikshya sapta divi bhavati pate vismita stambam ajahat sarva uma sreyanvitam. He whose family life was but observed, who is the king and priest of the whole world with its 7 islands, was struck with wonder and pride due to his prestige. He gave up being emperor of the world and was blessed with all kinds of opulence. He realized that this position was ultimately false and it could lead to pride, so he quit. Text 48. Avam Gerhashav Abivratu Vishayan Vividai Sukai Savamano Nachatushyad Ajya Stukayr Ivanala. In this way, in the household affairs, being engaged with material paraphernalia, with qualities of happiness and enjoying, not also satisfied him, the drops of fat like a fire. Okay, so he's satisfied just like a fire is by fat, and it's like, well, but there's more, and then the fire is fiercer, and it can draw in more, so you need to, Text 49. Sakarachin upasina atma pahnavam atmana dadarsa bahad rachacharyo nina sangha samutitam. He, one day, sitting down, degrading from the tapasya platform that was self-caused, he observed who was expert in chanting formulas, the sex life of fish that caused this incident. So he realized what went wrong. Text 50. Aho imam pasyatame vinnasam tapas vinna satcharita vratasya antarjale varichara prasangat pratyavitam brahma chiram dartam yat. Alas, this just see of me, who fell down from being utmost individual, of very good character, of one who took a strict vow, in deep water, because of the affairs of aquatics, I fell from the priestly class for a long time. And, that which was carried out. So his fall was a long series of actions. Text 51. Sangam tyajata methuna vratinam mumukshu sarvatmanana visurjad bahirindriyane ekascharan rahase chittam ananta isa yundita tad vratishu sadushu chet prasanga. The association must be given up by the people engaged in sexual affairs, and by affairs they mean just, behavior. The people who desire liberation in all respects don't employ the external senses alone, So you just don't go after sex life alone, even if it's lawful from a spiritual and legal angle. And they move to a secluded place in the heart that is fixed at the feet. Well, that's fixed unto the controller, who can engage himself with persons of the same category, such saintly persons, if one wants association. Well, it's best as a marriage that people get married from both that things. Like, ran into, ran into is probably the wrong word, because I don't know if I've ever seen this person before, but there was somebody at the grocery store, and it seemed like, she may not be experienced in that area at all, but she excuses the people who are, violating sexual ethics. And just saying, well, it's, that may not be the best person to raise kids with, so. But certainly if you have your heart in things, in the consciousness of the divine, then you can do anything, right? Of course, you can't just do anything, it has to be according to the principles the divine has sanctioned. Do this, don't do this, that sort of stuff. Of course, that black and white thinking is making it too simple and maybe causing some problems in some hearer of this. But the Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in Chandrodaya Nataka 827, Nishkinchanasya Bhagavad Bhajanunmukasya Param Jagameshur Bhava Sagarasya Sandarsanam Vishayanam Mata Yushitam Chaha Hanta Vishabhakshanatu Pe asadu. For people who are serious about crossing the ocean of material existence, the divine personality is served without material motives. And, you may see materialists seeking after sense gratification. Seeing a woman who is interested on that platform is more abominable than drinking poison. And for a woman, it's obviously the same from the other angle about such a man that just wants the material side of things. Text 52. Akasta pasve ahamatam base matsya sangat panchasad asam uta pancha sahasra sarga mandam vrajame ubaya kutya manuratanam maya gunayir hardamatir vishaya rata bhava. One great sage, Mai in the deep water, through the association of the fish, I got 50 wives, and what to speak of 100 sons in each of them, procreating 5,000, with no end. I can find the duties of life in the next, the mental concoctions that influence the modes of material nature I lost through my great attraction to material things, and all matters of self-interest. Of course, this may be true in a sense of, through the generations, but are symbolically in some way. Of course, there are spiritual miracles, but anyways. But, at least dude got married, right? 53. Evam vasangarhe kalam virakto nyasam astita vanam jagamanduyayus tat patnya patidvata. In this way, living at home, the time passed. He became detached in the renounced order of life, and he situated himself in the forest, and he went and was followed by all his wives, because their only object of manifesting religion was through the husband. Well, a devata you can think of as through this center and through this quality, these things are manifest. So the thing in you connects to the, so you evoke yourself as you invoke and evoke deity or whatever you worship. Text 54. Tatra taptava tapas tikshnam atmadarsanam atmavan sahaivagnibbir atmanam yuyoja paramatmane. In the forest, carrying out the modes or the categories very severely to help self-realization, converse it with the self. Certainly, the fires of the personal self were engaged with dealing with the transcendent field of consciousness. Text 55. Tahstava patyur maharaja nirikshyadhyatmekim gatin. Let me start that verse again. Tahstava patyur maharaja nirikshyadhyatmekim gatim anviyustat prabhavena agnim santam ivarchesha. They all, with their husband, the great king, observed the spiritual progress that followed because of the influence of their husband. I mean, you don't fall on purpose, but sometimes falling enables greater deeds. The fire was completely merged like the flames. So they all entered the spiritual world because they followed along with that power. They encouraged that power. And without, necessarily killing yourself at the end of your life like so many of these stories happen, it was like they merged into the spiritual fire. So you don't have to do that to be like you've merged into the spiritual fire. So, there's a lot of this person begot, and these people, their sons, and, it's part of the detail. It's part of the flow of the sound of the things. And we get into the Varuna Yajna, which is a human sacrifice, in the next one. And no, I'm not recommending that you sacrifice as such. A woman married to snakes and some pretty cool sounding stuff, right? But there's symbolic ways to take part in these things.